tell me right now why you sold me out, or you can tell me when I have my hands around your throat.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Underrated Podcast. This is a podcast where we discuss films that have slipped under the radar, or ones that are underappreciated, or, of course, ones that are underrated. On this podcast, we have the four of us, Ariel Ortiz.
Hello.
Alan Torres.
What's up, guys?
And Fred Torres.
What's up?
And, of course, I am Derick McDuff. This week, we are going to be talking about a 2011 film, Haywire, directed by Steven Soderbergh. This action thriller has an all-star cast of Michael Fassbender, Ewan McGregor, Bill Paxton, Channing Tatum, Antonio Banderas, Michael Douglas, and the newcomer MMA star Gina Carano, who performed all of her own stunts for the film. The low-budget film went largely unnoticed. Despite critics giving it mostly positive reviews, audiences were less impressed. So, guys, this was my pick this week, Haywire. Had any of you guys seen this one before?
No.
Not at all. I haven't.
Never even heard of it.
Neither did I.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
I had
despite
heard of
it
it
being this.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Despite this huge cast and a pretty famous director, Steven Soderbergh, I feel like it's kind of a really under the radar movie that most people haven't heard of. I don't know if any of you guys wanted to start off and tell me what you think of it.
All right. Here, let me go.
Okay.
Because you guys probably got way better, nicer things to say than I do.
No.
So
that's why
the
I
movie
wanted to go first too.
I knew you guys were gonna hate it.
No, hang on. No, I don't hate it. Like, let's not go there. I don't hate it, but this could have been one of those straight to VHS movie kind of things, or like TV movies. And I'm only saying that not in a bad thing. Yes, it had a big cast, but I felt they were underutilized most of the time, just because they're so big. They're such big actors. You know, Antonio Banderas is fucking massive, and he's a bad guy. But you find out at the end, and I'm not saying that that's bad, but I'm saying he could have been like the whole bad guy, like the whole movie. He's one of those guys that you know what I mean? Like, he's such a big guy. Same thing with Michael Douglas. Same thing with all these guys. Yes, they use them, and they use them well. Don't get me wrong; their acting's not bad, but they're just such big actors. Now, the movie itself, they even had Channing Tatum. I don't know. Look, it's a decent movie. It does what it does. It's like it kind of got its action right. I'm not saying her acting is bad. I'm just saying it's very generic. It reminds me of the movies that like you would watch, like the action movies of maybe like the 80s or 90s. Kinda. I don't know. It's just it was missing something, I guess is what I'm saying for myself. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't. I don't know. It's like it was trying to be John Wick before John Wick, but never hit John Wick status, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. For me,
Ariel?
I felt the same. Like, when I started watching it, to preference, I didn't know who directed it, so I didn't know it was Steven Soderbergh. But I will get to that right now. Is that for me, like, the movie just started. Like, I know, like, we don't need pomp and circumstance for like every movie, but this movie kind of felt like you wanted that ease into this like realm of like espionage that it kind of did. And then from the back, I kind of said, this feels like Oceans 11, like, but not just there. And then when Steven Soderbergh, like, the name dropped at the credits, I was like, my gosh, that's why I didn't like this so much. So because I don't really care for Steven Soderbergh's movies, except for the Oceans 11 movies, pretty much.
So he did those.
He
okay.
did, yeah, he did Oceans 11. I think that's the only series. Like, I was looking at his filmography, I'm like, that's the only series that I really like of his, because
Gotta be honest,
I
don't even know what kind of director he was, so I mean, I'll just put that one out there.
Well, because the thing is that, like, he's done, he did Magic Mike. That's why Channing Tatum is on this one.
Wow.
Okay,
The
that makes
first
sense.
one,
No
not
idea.
the second one. So,
Yeah.
But the first one, the first one's big, isn't it?
the
first
first one
one-
is big, but
yeah.
the first one's tone is very
What
much
about the movie?
like, yeah, but the first one's tone is very much
him.
like this, where there's a lot of negative space in sound. I would say that there's there's no music, there's nothing, like it's just like basically audio of the scene, which for me it did in this movie also with her walking and stuff. But I felt like there was a moment when she just kills Michael Fassbender's character, and then she's walking out of the hotel, and it's kind of like a tense moment, and you kind of get that's where the no music kind of like was used really great. But then it went into this like music that is it's like similar. That's why it made me think of the Ocean series, because it's very much the music that he used in the Ocean series, and I was like, this does not fit for this. I was very impressed with the action scenes, of course, like, and you could totally tell like it is her. And I do like Gina Carano from The Mandalorian and Deadpool, so I do like her. But and those scenes with her fighting were very impressive. And again, that's where like those moments of no music, it's just the raw kind of sound really accentuates those moments, and it does play off really well. But yeah, like he kind of like in that regard, he was kind of imbalanced with the usage of music in general, and then using the kind of like too poppy kind of for this kind of movie. I was really hoping for a little bit more of a suspenseful soundtrack when it was used. But yeah, I kind of like when I saw Steven Soderbergh's name at the end credits, I literally like just like pounded my fist. I'm like, of course, I got fooled. But I mean, that's
it was a heist on you.
Yeah, it was literally a heist on me. And then going back to what Fred said about kind of like the underusage of the characters, especially with Antonio Banderas, I feel like the part in wherever he was with his like mistress or whatever, that was the bad guy that we should have had, like for a good chunk of the movie, not just the last seconds of the movie. The movie it went really quickly. I mean, you just get thrown into this like whole situation. I felt like the whole thing with her like picking up this guy and then kind of using that as a way to like backtrack on what's happened so far was kind of unnecessary. I feel like it didn't really provide any like help to the plot. It was just basically like, oh, she's just telling this stranger who pretty much like she like immediately like basically like feels and trusts like without any understanding. And I was thinking, okay, well, maybe he's like an important person, like he's the one that they like really want for some like conspicuous reason and stuff. But for him just to like go away, it kind of like didn't seem like that was even necessary of a use of like a plot point. So yeah, but we got Bill Paxton as her dad, and that going off of that, like the underwhelming of use of him, especially with her kind of like with Ewan McGregor and early in the movie, like saying like I feel like your dad is just like basically a kind of like not a stick in the mud, but kind of like not like he doesn't know how to protect himself. He's just a simpleton kind of compared to us. And then her saying like, you don't know my dad, you don't know, he's not.
Well, all he says is that he's like the characters that are in his books.
Yeah,
that's all. That's literally all he says.
Yeah.
Like, then she goes, "You never read the books." I think what he was trying to say is kind of like he's just an author and not really like an agent.
He's not us.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why. And then her saying like, you don't know my dad, you've never met him, and then. I was okay. They're gonna be like, oh, he like has been that's why she's this good or kind of good. She wasn't incredibly good.
I'm not gonna lie. I was hoping that was gonna happen where they go like, she's been trained since she was like 1, and she can slit your throat with a pencil, unsharpened.
I mean, it was very realistic in that she was, she took some hits herself, and I like that. But ultimately won the fight. But yeah, I was expecting Bill Paxton to like come out as a badass, like the game over kind of thing. But instead of
It's
game over, man.
Game over,
Yeah.
man.
So that's my thoughts. Like, I felt like it was a movie that's kind of like semi-baked. It kind of like, it could have been developed a lot more. And I feel like there's a good amount of Steven Soderbergh Soderbergh movies that are kind of like that. Soderbergh's movies that are kind of like that, where they feel like they kind of leave you wanting more in a kind of negative way, at least for me. So that's my thoughts.
Well, I'll go for it. One thing I will say about this movie real quick. First thing I thought of when I finished the movie, I was like, this is the quietest action film I've ever seen. The punches, everything was like...
Because it's realistic.
Like,
I mean, that is how punches
no.
are.
You know what? But yeah, honestly, it was realistic. That's the only one thing. Yeah. Even the gunshots were like normal gunshots, like bah, 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 bah. It wasn't like boom, 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 boom. Like a handgun doesn't sound like a sniper rifle, is what I'm saying.
No, I know. It was very Chris Nolan Dark Knight action, where it was just so quiet, where like I don't know, I kind of like my like loud. I understand
thinking
the
right
realistic
now,
part.
what movie that really encapsulates this and uses, like, gets enough sound, I think, but it is realistic sound, but like kind of like, I guess the sound mixing is a lot better in like in capturing the sound, is the Bourne movies, because
I know what you're gonna say, Hot Rod. Oh
no, the Bourne movies, I think kind of like are realistic sounds, but they're kind of like, I don't know if they had better like
the Matt Damon ones, right?
yeah, I don't know if they had like better, or the John Wick movies, really. Like, there's some moments in
No, because I was gonna say, isn't there a Bourne with a different guy other than Matt?
It's
Jeremy Renner.
It's that one's awful. If you want to talk about not a realistic movie, it's I like the Bourne movies a lot.
The Bourne movies are good with Matt Damon.
But yeah, the one with Jeremy Renner is it's atrocious.
Go on, sorry.
But go on, Alan.
Oh, no worries. But yeah, no, I mean, like, this film for me though, I thought it was like a proto Atomic Blonde, which I think is another underrated film. I don't know if like anybody else has seen it. I know when it came out, it was kind of like back and forth, but that one might be a pick for later. But yeah, it was like kind of like a proto Atomic Blonde. Like, I really liked her a lot. Gina, what is it? Gina
Carano, I think.
Yeah.
Carano. I thought she was great. I thought she was absolutely wonderful. I loved her in Mandalorian. And no, she was. I thought the film. I will agree with Ariel. It was kind of half baked. It just needed a little bit more time in the oven. But it was solid. I know you guys were saying you didn't like how fast it came and how fast it went, but I kind of liked that. I felt like I was like a fly on the wall of this like Assassin's kind of like world. Like, it just happened, and I was like, I don't know what the hell's going on, and I kind of liked the mystery, and then it just kind of goes as fast as it went. I thought it was pretty enjoyable. But yeah, there are some parts where I thought, like, some of the actors were a little like underutilized. But I don't know, maybe that's Steven Soderbergh's kind of like thing that he was going for. He just kind of wanted this like assassin slice of life kind of thing happening in an hour and a half. And yeah, the action was great. I loved like the submission moves. I know she like has like an MMA background, and I thought all that was pretty fun. Like, it's a solid film for me, anyways. It was a solid like action film. I like the mystery. Yeah, there's some stuff that like I feel like wasn't fully fleshed out with like a lot of the characters, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. I mean, yeah, I mean, I would say give it a watch. I don't know, if you're into action movies, go ahead and take a look. Just for Gina Carano herself, like, she stole the movie for me. I loved her acting, her action, everything about her was like my favorite part. But yeah.
Yeah, no, and I do think that there is definitely something to be said about this being her first movie, her being, from an MMA background. Basically she's just an athlete before this, and she's in this movie with this like stacked cast, and she's still this good, and you're still like that impressed by her. And I
just want to add one more thing. I feel like it's, when you said that this was her first movie, and especially compared to her acting in The Mandalorian, I feel like there was some lines that were kind of delivered a bit more like a table reading, like just kind of like step, 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 then kind of like a emotion, like a little bit of integration of like acting. Some from her.
See, I
some
feel like
from,
that's her character.
Yeah, yeah, but I guess so.
No, I know. Yeah, it says I gotta say her character worked well the way she was. 'Cause she's military. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not an assassin. She's like Green Beret military, like special ops.
Yeah.
Is pretty
Yeah.
much what she
Yeah,
is.
she was a double dog Marine.
Yeah, and
Oh,
so
okay.
like it's she played it well. Like that's the one thing, she played it well. If it was just her and maybe other actors, maybe not of that high of caliber as the bad guys. Like Michael Douglas isn't that bad because he's, let's just say, on the side of good, right?
He's basically doesn't want her to get burned.
He's just
basically,
right. Yeah,
he's
basically
not one
just
of the ones that
another
wanted her burned.
Well, yeah, but he's one of the higher ups in like the chain of command of like the government and the U.S. government. But what I'm saying is like when you see like when you see Antonio Banderas as the bad guy, I'm just saying that like that's what I'm saying. You expect so much. I could have seen Channing Tatum maybe be the bad guy. I don't see him at the same, and I'm not saying anything bad about him, but I'm saying I don't see him as high as Antonio Banderas, because you would expect to see such a like an evil guy or some kind of thing of performance. That's what I'm trying to say. But her herself, I think she did great.
Yeah.
I think she does great every time she comes out, especially when she does roles like these. You know, just like in the same thing in The Mandalorian. It's kind of like an assassin type there, bounty hunter,
Like Stormtrooper. Kind of
Yeah,
thing,
she's
it's
incredible
tough.
in Mandalorian. I love
Yeah,
her.
she's good. She's good whenever it's something like that, wherever it's like tough, like a tough woman. She does really, really well. So I do have to say that she did very, very good in what she did. I just think that you wanted more from these other actors,
All right, let me
not
just,
her.
Yeah, let me just go off and tell you guys why I fucking love this movie, and why I picked it, and why you guys are whatever. I know you guys might not agree, but
Right.
let me just, as Fred would say about one of his movies, let me just tell you guys why this is the greatest movie ever made.
Oh, you better come with it then, because I would like to let you know I lay it on thick.
No, but in all seriousness, I do really like Ariel. You were saying Steven Soderbergh's not your cup of tea. For me, he's my jam. I love every one of his movies that I've seen. Like they're all, in my opinion, just fucking bangers. I love the kind of like quick, witty, like realistic dialogue where people. It does sound like it doesn't sound like movie dialogue a lot of the time. It sounds like the way people actually talk to each other. People are stammering over their words or like their lines, kind of like I'm doing right now. And I do appreciate that he always gets a really good cast. Like obviously all the Oceans movies have really big actors in them. Contagion's another one of his movies that has just like a huge cast. And I like that he doesn't treat his movie stars like movie stars. He treats them like actors. And like that was something you guys were saying is a negative for you about the movie, but that's a really big positive thing, that you're not like, oh, every time Antonio Banderas comes on, it's like a big thing. It's just like, oh, he's just another character in the movie. And when you first see like him and Ewan McGregor and they're all, and Michael Douglas, and they're all in that scene, they're just shot like regular guys. It's not like a well, you see their feet and they pans up and it reveals like here's a big movie star. They're all just treated like regular actors. They're just really fucking good actors, and it's not banking on the name recognition or anything. It's just banking on their skills.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I because I don't know him, like I don't know him as a director, right? Like I can't tell you what his direction was, but I will tell you that when I did see it the first time, obviously you're explaining it right now, but when I did see it the first time and I saw these big name actors, I was like, somebody was trying to sell me this movie by giving me these actors, because the main character, she at the time was not famous enough to push this movie on her own. That was the one damn thought that came out. That's why I was like, oh, these guys are underused because they don't want to pay them the money that they require when they do like big movies. That I thought, and this is just, and I'm not bashing the movie. Like I said, I don't even know the director. I don't even know who Soderbergh. I don't even know he did the Oceans movies. But when I did see those guys, I thought, oh, someone's trying to sell me this movie. Someone paid decent amount to have these guys do a few lines, so that way the movie's run by this chick, because she's brand new, and this is the way they're gonna get in the movie theaters. Like when they say, oh, starring or produced with Steven Spielberg, but he has nothing to do with it. But you know how they give him like such a producer credit because he, I don't know, read over the script maybe.
Yeah.
And then you think, oh my God, Steven Spielberg, look at the name. I swear to God, I thought that when I saw this. I mean, obviously you're explaining it, but I'm just saying that's the one damn thing I thought.
It's interesting that you say that, because Steven Soderbergh himself is so opposed to that kind of like from this director. Like he hates, like he doesn't like that like director as a brand. Like he doesn't like, he hates the thing where it's like, a Quentin Tarantino film or like a Spike Lee
Yeah.
joint. Like he's very opposed to that. He just wants to like his whole thing is like I'm just gonna make a good movie. And the other thing you guys were talking about where it's like, oh, like this movie seems like kind of like half baked or like it's like this kind of like script of like, you know, what would be like a made for DVD movie from the 90s. I think that Soderbergh has a way of taking movies that like they sound like they wouldn't be good. Like if you told me the only reason I watched this movie initially when it came out was because I knew it was directed by Steven Soderbergh. And it's like it's a pretty low budget movie. I think its budget was around $20 million, which is, if you look at who's in it, that's kind of incredible. And
That's
kind of
pretty small, yeah.
Yeah, and it speaks to the fact that these actors just really like being in Steven Soderbergh movies because he always gets these great casts and he always gets great performances from his actors, I think. And he's an actor's director. You know, he's an opposite of David Fincher. But I really do think that he kind of takes these kind of like middling concepts, and because he shoots them with such realism and like intensity and like he really cares about them, they are elevated. So like, you know, a movie like this, if it's like, oh, it's an assassin and she gets betrayed by, like, I would be like, you know what, fuck that. Like, that doesn't sound interesting. But when I'm actually watching this one, I'm really enthralled. And it's the same thing with all his movies, you know, like Contagion. Like, you know, I don't care really about virus movies. That's a fucking great movie.
I'm
or like,
okay with Contagion. I think I'll tell you why I think I like the Steven Soderbergh movies that I like. But go on.
But yeah, or like, you know, the Oceans Trilogy. Like, I love those movies. Those are some of my favorite heist movies of all time. And they're remakes of these fucking terrible movies. This fucking terrible movie from the 60s. Like, yeah, there's the one awful rat. Like, that movie is unwatchable if you watch the original Rat Pack one.
Sorry.
Yeah, but
I'll be honest. The only reason I like the Ocean movie though is because of the actors they had, not because that story is so great. I mean,
but it's like the way he get like this exactly. That's what I'm saying. So the story itself is not that interesting, but like the way he makes it and like shoots it, or like a movie about a male stripper, like that would not be like, you know, something that I would normally be like rush out to see.
I've never watched it.
Well,
I love Magic
stripper?
Mike. It's so good.
Stop.
It's so good.
I've never watched it
because it's really like I think that's another underrated movie, and I think it's because like the second one is more
it's not
popular.
underrated. I think
The
it's
second one
huge.
is more popular.
I know.
I think the second one is more what you want to see with that movie, where it's like, oh, it's dudes stripping. And
Listen,
stuff. Like,
I can tell you, I don't have enough fingers and toes to count how many women that I know, like family members and other people that have seen this goddamn movie.
The first one or the second one?
The first one.
All of them.
Because the first one is like a interesting character.
No,
study
they've seen,
about,
they've
like,
seen
a
both.
guy and
They've
his
seen
future.
both. But I'm telling you,
the second one's more what you would expect
listen,
from a movie
I'm telling you,
male strippers.
all they talk to is male stripper, and I don't have enough hands and fingers or toes, or I could chop all of ours off, and I don't think I have enough to tell you how many people have seen that movie. I will.
As a guy, fucking
tell you how many people have seen that movie.
Mike.
I can tell you how many guys I know now that have seen that movie on this one hand, and that would be you, Derick.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Okay, it's an underrated movie amongst guys then, because it's really an interesting character story about a man, like kind of like it's like what does it mean to be a man, and like what is he doing for his future? That's a whole other movie though. I do really like that one, but I think he really makes these interesting human stories about people.
I just want to laugh because he's just trying to go through school to get his nursing degree.
What?
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That completely
Wait,
did
is
not
it real?
I didn't know he wanted to go to
He's
nursing
trying to go through
school.
school. I don't think he's for nursing school. No, he's dating a nurse. That's what
Yeah,
it is. I knew
he's
nursing was involved.
That's a typical stripper story. Oh, I just trying to. Hey, Daddy, I'm just trying to make my way through school. Come on, I don't even know it, and I already guessed it.
I don't know if he's going to school, but
Magic
he's
Fred.
all about
No,
saving
he's
money.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He's all about saving
But
money.
that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I really, and like you guys were saying, the action in this movie is incredible. Like, she was an MMA star, and then she went through like 6 weeks of intensive training to like do all her own stunts. And I love how the action in this isn't very choppy. Like, it's all just like punch. Like, you do have some like not long takes, but like longer takes than you would see in a movie like this, because the studios actually wanted to make it kind of more just like a straight up action movie, like a lot more like the Jason Bourne movies and less of a thriller. And the movie got delayed for a little bit, and he went and shot Contagion because he was really pushing for it to be kind of more of a thriller. And I do like those elements where it's like you don't really know, like you're watching the movie, you don't find out till like the denouement of the movie, till the very end, like who is the bad guy? Like is it Michael Douglas? Like, has he been playing both sides? Is it Antonio Banderas? Like, you know that there's somebody above you in McGregor, and you're not really sure what it is. And then it's kind of like that last little scene. It's like you do have the climax of the movie when she gets you in McGregor, because that is her whole thing. But then you do get the mystery resolved, and then that kind of like last little thing. And the thing I wanted to say also about the frame story, since you brought it up, Ariel, the reason that resonated for me is because her whole thing is she doesn't trust anybody, and except for her dad. Her dad is the one human being she trusts, and then she's kind of put in this situation where she's kind of like forced to get basically kidnap this kid. And the only reason she gets him is because he jumped in and tried to beat up Channing Tatum, was there to help her. She was like, okay, maybe I can kind of trust this kid. And he's bandaging her up because she needs somebody to kind of do this while she needs a car, she needs to get away. So she just kind of is using him, but then she starts telling him the story, starts trusting him a little bit. And the resolution for that trust arc isn't really with him, it's with Channing Tatum, where at the beginning Channing Tatum's just some guy. The first scene who fights her, then you find out that they hooked up in the past and they were just boning or whatever. But then the end of the movie, he's the one who dies to kind of help her out, and he's there dying next to her and Bill Paxton. And that's kind of her arc. It's a small arc, but it is learning to kind of trust people. And that's why I think you need the framing story, because it doesn't really come through without it.
Okay.
God damn, I did not see that at all.
I did not see that at all. So this
I did not see it at all. That's the first time because I'm so used to she's just a military person. So I was like, she didn't trust this guy, and then she's the guy who boned. Maybe I thought they had feelings. I thought they were growing feelings.
Yeah.
And that's why when I saw him die,
banging.
No, well, I mean, I thought when he died, she has gotten flashbacks to oh, I finally found a guy that I like to bang, and he's dead now, so I gotta go.
Well, and then he said
that's just my reading.
They only met 8 days ago. But
yeah, this whole movie takes me 8 days. That's why I was like, oh, the banging. I mean, he must have been good. Channing Tatum, what are you gonna do?
Channing Tatum.
He's Magic Mike. He made her remember him.
Yeah. So that's what I'll say about this, and what I came to the realization right now about Steven Soderbergh. Steven Soderbergh.
Not Steven Sondheim. That's a different guy.
No, Steven Soderbergh's movies, and the ones that I do actually like are ones that that this was coming off of the half baked, that they kind of had more development of the story and stuff, with Oceans 11, the Ocean series. Especially Oceans 11, you have this basically stepwise of a story, and it's not drawn out. It's it feels like you go into this story, and these characters are developed even though they're given little time, but they have this characteristic to them that you grasp them even with the small amount of time that you spend with them overall. And then with Contagion is a movie that's it is kind of long, but it does have kind of a development, especially Matt Damon's character, and you get to spend a lot more time with understanding where he's coming from, and his wife, and with Gwyneth Paltrow, and then his daughter, and then all these things. And then
so you like his ensembles movies, kind of, it sounds like. Because I do think that the characters relationships in those movies are very, very strong.
Yeah, I think that where there's relationship kind of situations, I guess going off of that, that was one of the things with Magic Mike that I did kind of was when it was more of a character development of between people. And
when he's on stage dancing to the person watching him dance, right?
His dance is the only one that I like. Channing Tatum.
Not McConaughey?
I don't like
Not
McConaughey.
all right.
It's kind of weird.
I got a question to ask.
And then Matt Bomer's is a Ken doll.
Oh shit! I forgot Matt Bomer's in that.
Which one's the Ocean? Which Ocean's movie is it? Where Julia Roberts?
That one's a bad one.
Ocean's 12.
Ocean's 12.
I liked 12. I actually liked 12.
Just that scene.
Listen. That's the best acting I've ever. No, hang on. That is the best acting I've ever seen. Where she is playing somebody else. She plays herself. I was fucking mind blown. Julia Roberts playing the character playing Julia Roberts, or
the lead up to it is really good though, because they're she doesn't look anything like it. She does. She looked and then
hilarious.
George
It was hilarious.
Clooney,
I was
talking to Brad Pitt. Do you think
and then
she looks
Bruce Willis is there as himself. And
Bruce
Willis just doesn't care, and they make fun of that Bruce Willis doesn't have an Oscar, and Matt Damon does. He's fucking great.
That was the best movie ever.
Ocean's 12 is very underrated. I'm gonna be real. I loved it.
Ocean's 12.
Thank you.
Thieves versus Thieves, and then the French thief from Black Swan or whatever. He's going through the lasers. I was this is fucking hype.
For me, I don't know.
Better than
Julia
Oceans
Roberts,
11.
Julia
Just gonna
Roberts
put that
scene.
one.
Yep, I agree. Thank you. We're in agreement. Underrated.
I think it's on our list.
Stylistically, this feels a lot like it.
Listen, I don't think it's
I put it
underrated.
on the list.
I didn't know it would be underrated. I thought that was the best movie.
No,
Not the
Dude,
best
people
movie.
hate
It's got
that
bad-
movie for some
one of the
reason.
People
movies.
hate it. And it's
I
got
think
bad
people
critic
hate it because of the Julia Roberts as Julia Roberts
Get
scene.
why?
I don't
That's
know.
like
No,
the-
it's
kinda
because
awesome.
it's so different from the first one.
Listen, if that part wasn't in the movie, I would have said it was garbage. Right?
I like
That scene makes this movie.
I
Well,
like
to
everything
think that they went to the
else.
studio. Oh my God! I believe they went into the studio to pitch the idea, and they were like, "Man, this movie sounds like ass." He goes, "Hold on, what about Julia Roberts?" Right? This was gonna be a secret, but Julia Roberts plays somebody who plays Julia Roberts, and they were like, "Oh shit!" And they started knocking things over. They're like, "Ah, this is it." That's how they got the money for
Spielberg,
it.
you did it again.
But
Knocked it out of the park.
I like
I know
everything
Spielberg,
else
I'm
besides
sorry.
that side.
Out
That
of the
part's just
Jurassic
like
Park.
it's just for me. It's just like, oh my gosh. But that's just me.
Ariel, were you the one who told me you like Logan Lucky?
Oh, I like Logan Lucky. Yeah. Did he do Logan
Yes,
Lucky too?
that's Soderbergh.
Oh, okay. But
Yeah.
that too is like it's like a characters development. You know, you have like these character relationships that are built on this kind of story.
Gremlins
you know?
3, Soderbergh. Boom.
Yeah, I love Logan Lucky.
Yeah,
I don't know what that is.
It's another.
It's a movie about like
Soderbergh-
Wolverine, where like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know,
He gets
goes to
really
a
lucky.
casino or something. Yeah, and
Yeah.
he makes it big at the slots.
Hey,
We
that
did.
sounds like an interesting movie.
Pretty
Very,
great,
very.
right? I'll
Yeah,
watch
sounds
it.
good. I'll watch it.
Did
It's
you
the
say
second.
Logan's Lucky.
Second, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm?
I like Logan
Yeah.
Lucky.
Let's go win at craps.
So
bub.
okay, so it's basically
Amazing.
just I guess movies that like have these character like I guess it's heist movies like because
Yeah, no,
Ocean's
like-
11 and Logan Lucky is a heist.
Maybe he's a
movie.
heist master.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love from that movie. Yeah, they'll know what we want them to know. All these I know a lot of quotes from that.
It's
Jack
Daniel
Quaid.
Craig doing his
He's
southern
like, what-
accent again.
Oh, what internets do you know? All of them. I know all the internets.
that-
Jack Quaid.
Is that character related to Daniel Craig's character in Knives Out?
He's pretty much doing like a similar accent.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
I
not
do
quite as
declare.
Kentucky Fried, but
Yeah.
it's more of like a
No,
NASCAR
no,
kind of
it's like-
southerner.
Yeah,
Right?
Daniel Craig's character in that is like no peeking. Like it's like a very high pitch, like that you wouldn't think Daniel Craig like even being able to make that voice. Yeah, it's because his voice in Knives Out is like his normal level of voice, but it's like Kentucky Fried Chicken. Whereas this one is
Hella
just a
Kentucky
high.
Fried. I love it.
Where in Logan Lucky, it's like a higher pitch, like kind of like where did this even come from kind of thing. But yeah, I like Logan Lucky.
So yeah. Would you guys then recommend this movie? Haywire.
I would say, I guess, like if you've already went through Netflix and seen all the movies like most people have, sure, why not give it a watch? I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying it probably wouldn't be my first one to run to, but it's not a bad movie. I mean, I guess give it a watch if you got some time and you're like, hey, what movie should I put on? Toss this one in.
Yeah, for me, I feel like there's, especially with the Steven Soderbergh movies that like I mentioned that are kind of a little bit more engaging. I feel like that those ones are more go-to than this one. And if you want to get like some acting of Gina Carano, then I recommend The Mandalorian and Deadpool. Like I know The Mandalorian more because she does have a bit more pronounced role in it than Deadpool is Angel Dust. But yeah, I recommend like those kind of things to watch to get her sense, because she does her own stunts on those, I'm pretty sure. But Yeah, I mean, I think maybe even listening to this podcast before watching it might make it a little bit more enjoyable because
Oh no,
we kind of like
no, do not watch this podcast before. Watch it after. The
Yeah.
story's pretty simple. I would not advise you to watch.
we got lost.
too late now,
we
I
didn't
guess.
we didn't know that the whole this whole trust arc was going on until we got it explained to us.
I don't think you should know because I
That's
feel
just
like
kind of what I picked up on.
I kind of
No.
picked it up right away because she just seems super like anti everybody else.
I just thought that
Like,
was
when
because
she
of
was, like,
military training. Because like from her dad.
Yeah, military training and like MMA.
But no. I mean, what I'm
Her
trying to say is
dad.
like the story's pretty linear, very like
It is very
straightforward.
linear, but you kind of miss all these
But, no, what I'm trying to say is like if you were to
went over my head.
no, but that's what I'm saying. I think you should come to this podcast after you watched it to really like
Oh, that's what's
process what
happening?
you. Yeah. Because I feel like if you watch this right now, you get to see and hear what we say. You're gonna come out. You're gonna go watch the movie and be like, okay, this is what I'm expecting next, and this is what I'm expecting next. And because it's very, like you guys said, it's very realistic. So you don't, it just, if you watch it and for your first time, I feel it's more enjoyable than having heard us talk about it
Well-
and then try to watch
well,
it.
Unfortunately, it's all moot because they would only be able to hear this warning if they listen to the podcast. So they're kind of fucked.
At the end of the podcast, they'll be like, and don't listen to
the
us.
end of the
Yeah,
podcast.
don't listen. Listen, go back and watch the movie
Go
before
back
you
and
listen
watch
to all
it,
the shit.
yeah.
you
And then
listen
they're
to.
gonna be like, ah, shit.
God damn it, you done goofed.
But
All
I mean, I would say go for it, give it a watch. I mean, if you like Soderbergh and stuff, check it out. I did notice that there's some kind of like music that reminded me of Oceans.
It's
there,
Oceans.
I think
so
it's the
kinda dig
same.
that.
It's the same composer, I believe.
It's the same, yeah. It sounded very jazzy.
You keep the
does.
budget down by using the same music in another movie.
Mhm.
You already got the rights to it.
Yeah. No,
There
but
you go.
I can't recommend this movie enough. Especially if you're like me and you're a really big fan of thrillers. Thrillers that do have a lot of good action in it, but that's not necessarily the focus. Where it is the focus on kind of just telling a tight, interesting kind of story that isn't overly complex, but it is kind of still engaging.
Yeah.
And it's not something where it's like you couldn't necessarily see the end coming. It's not a huge twist, but it's also not like telegraphed. It's not super obvious. I'd say I would say really check. And it's a short movie. It's only like about an hour.
It's
and
an hour
a half
and a
long.
half. That's it.
Yeah,
It's
so tight
like-
movie. Yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
If you just need like a quick thriller fix and you're like, all right, I got nothing to watch, throw that on. You'll enjoy it at least to a point,
Yep. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening again. We've been the Underrated Podcast, and you can listen to us anywhere that you listen to podcasts. We're also on YouTube if you want to check out the video version of this. We do a video version of the podcast now.
And I gotta
go
say that
ahead.
we look gorgeous. If I can add that, you guys want to see our pretty faces.
It's very true. You can't see my awesome killer shirt if you guys are just listening.
You can kind of see it. I mean, like there's
Check
like
out
a
this
little
Barbie
bit.
shirt.
Oh no!
Joker Barbie shirt.
Oh, no,
He fell off.
Derek jumped off.
No, I
shirt
cursed
was
myself.
Way too much.
Wow.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, there you
The
go.
shirt was way
Yeah.
too much. On your sideways now.
Am I sideways?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's-
don't know.
there you go.
are.
Whatever.
Now you can see the shirt a little more.
Yeah.
But if you're listening, you can't. But if you're watching YouTube, you get to see this shirt.
You can also see our reactions in real time.
Yeah, and so if you're on YouTube, give us a like. If you're listening on iTunes, give us 5 stars. Tell a friend. We also do a couple of other podcasts. We do my show, Gateway episodes, where we talk about a different TV show every week, and an episode of that show that would serve as a gateway episode to get into a show. Ariel, did you want to talk about your podcast that you're doing as well?
Yep, I do a podcast called "You've Never Seen" with a question mark, exclamation mark, and it's basically we go through movies that are considered or important to pop culture or cinematic history. And so the next one will be Moulin Rouge, and it's released on the 1st of every month. So go to any of your podcasting apps and look for the screaming 50s woman in green when you search.
And then
You've
on the
Never Seen.
15th, and 15th, we release Gateway episodes once a month. Mm-hmm. And then every 2 weeks, we do a new episode of this show, Underrated. But yeah, thanks again, everyone, for listening. I'll see you all in another life.
Cool, take
Bye.
it easy.
Thanks for being amazing.
Later, everybody.